you
And
Soul.
Malcolm?
You call him Soul. I appreciate that, man. That's another way to stay alive and free on the under.
Oh, okay. Thank you. You hear that,
Keeping a
Malcolm?
relationship with your dad as a son.
Oh,
I appreciate that because I got a similar relationship with my dad as well. So
okay.
people be like,
Well, wait till Father's Day and we'll hype it up.
Yeah.
No, but thank you
well,
for the compliment. No,
we
no,
ain't gonna do no. We ain't gonna be corny. We doing it right.
no.
We doing it right.
Can I bring it
Appreciate
up?
that, Mike.
Please do. I appreciate you, Soul.
And then you know what? I just want to say it hasn't always been easy, but we kept at it. You know what I mean? Like
Yes, sir.
parent-child relationships, it can be tricky along the way, but
That's
As
a whole
is
show.
necessary. That's all. That's what relationships
Oh
that's
my
what you
God.
Oh
got to
man.
do when it comes to
Yeah,
relationships,
look,
See,
especially as you
we
get
ain't even
older.
got to the
Okay?
news yet.
I know that. All right, man. All right. Thank you, Mike. That was very nice. That was very nice.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful. It was all right. All right.
hey, but it was his birthday the other day, and I texted him. I said, "Man, you're always my Superman," and that he's always Black Superman to me. It don't matter. You know what I
He
mean?
blank banning you.
That man right there. That's Black Clark Kent right there.
Glasses and
Okay,
all.
Yeah.
let us move on. Okay, Lady E, how you doing? I love your scarf. You're looking good. Looking
Thank
good.
you. I am wonderful. I have to give a shout out to my daughter who graduated from SMU yesterday
Mm.
with a master's degree in mechanical engineering.
Whoa.
Congratulations. Is that the one in Texas or the one in California?
So
SMU.
that's what, no, my son is in California, only he's here today because of the celebration. But yes, that is the mother of 3 children, 3 kids, and a dog, a husband, a full-time job. Okay. And then she had her classes, baby. I mean, she even had time to be out in the front yard digging up planting flowers. All right.
Oh
A
wow.
little bit of Jack and Jill, a little bit of Delta, and she still got that master's in mechanical. I knew it was an MS, but I wasn't sure what it was. And when they said mechanical engineering, I said, what?
Congratulations, dear.
Congratulations.
Tell her I said congratulations. Please. No,
I
That's
will.
known her
That's a
since
nice
she was
smile you
a
have.
long
That's a
time.
proud mother smile.
Thank you. Absolutely.
she didn't even
Absolutely.
know the degree. That's beautiful.
There's obviously it's graduation time right now, and just around town you see people in the gowns, either coming from graduation or getting ready to go this week, and you just that sense of accomplishment you see in folks' eyes is so
Oh my
beautiful.
goodness.
Yes.
Because it took work to get to that day. It's one day,
Man,
but it took a
right.
whole lot to get to that one day, and it's just beautiful to
Right.
see.
It is just beautiful.
And we got 14
I know.
alive and free Omega Boy Scout college graduates. And every time I get a picture, I'll be like, Uncle Marshall, I did it.
You have 14
14 this year. Yeah.
that's graduating college.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
This year.
That's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
This spring. And we get them in here, but I mean, I got Alea Martin's picture today. And let me tell you, they glam up when it comes to graduation pictures.
I done seen that. I
Oh
talked
my
about that.
Lord. Is this you?
I talked about that.
Oh,
They
Hey,
be
people got
they
dance
do a lot.
routines and
man, I
everything now.
mean, like the hair,
It's not
the
a game.
makeup. I mean,
Hold
like
on.
The ladies.
My daughter went to a specialist, okay, to have her makeup done.
Oh,
Okay. Now, first of all, she's beautiful.
yeah,
She
yeah.
doesn't need any makeup. Even though we put on a little bit, the lipstick, the earrings. No, baby. She drove somewhere. We had to wait for her to come back to get her face made. She had new pair of I mean, it was the day. But I understand that. Because see, I would be all dressed up too. Mechanical engineering? Hey, listen.
Congratulations to
Absolutely.
all the graduates,
Yes,
all
sir.
the graduates from kindergarten all the way up.
Yeah.
Graduation always special. All right, speaking of graduation, let's get this in.
Adult school.
Ann and I went to a graduation at Santa Rita Jail on Friday
Oh,
for the
wow.
Freedom Braiders, who have been on the show before.
Santa Rita, that's the women's prison?
And we'll be back. Well, there's a women's wing, that's for sure. I
Okay,
know
it's women's
there,
wing.
but it's women's wing. And they're going to come back in 2 weeks. It was amazing. And this is a program, real quick. They teach women to braid hair, and while they're teaching them, they teach them to stay alive and free. Mrs. Dell, I'm telling you, you would it sent chills being in there with these women. They were there for the braiders go in for 8 weeks. They have all these lessons about everything that we teach. They're teaching them, right? And every time they would echo in a chant, alive and free, alive and free. It was incredible. It was incredible. So and you heard it. It was
Oh, it brought tears to my
Yeah.
eyes. Yeah, it was I just because it's so real and pure. The instructors, Joanna Hernandez, and then the other braiders, there's like I think 8 or 15 braiders. Like they really believe in these young women, and the women were just kind of like taught to believe in themselves using the
Absolutely.
message, you know, like love will
Absolutely.
never lead you to danger.
Well,
Yeah.
It's super cool because it's literal. You could really, you
touch the
know,
women. Yeah.
well, not
yeah.
only touch the women when they get out of prison
Yeah.
or jail.
Yeah.
They have a craft
They
that
got
they
us-
can
yeah.
really make money. My sister,
Yeah.
that's all she do.
Yeah.
She don't
Yeah.
pay taxes. Oh,
Yeah.
my bad.
Yeah.
I was about to say.
But anyway, yeah,
We don't know
you
her
could
name.
do
It's
it. You
fine.
could do what you do and make a good, honest earning living.
No,
Really?
and as part of the graduations, they had to demonstrate your skills. I'm like, so they had these dolls, and they said
Mhm.
they told them to go ahead and demonstrate, different patterns. It was
That was one of
incredible.
my favorite episodes from last year.
They coming back 2 weeks. They got to get them back quick.
Yeah.
It was overwhelming, and they let me say something to the girl. And I said, wish I could hug all of y'all. Get Dr. Marshall, alive and free, alive and free.
Yeah.
The hardest thing was watching the girls go back inside.
Dang.
I mean, that was hard.
Man.
That
Yeah.
the yellow suits, and after all this celebration, and and you can't touch them, you can't do, you can't show anything but
Right.
verbal love, right? And then the time was up, and they went back in there, and
Dang.
so it was hard,
But they getting out.
eventually, yeah. I
And
don't
when they
about the
do, they
individual-
bring with them a reason.
Yeah.
They have inside a reason, which is wonderful.
All right, we'll get that back in, Joanna Hernandez. Thank you. I'm not talking about Diddy, and I ain't talking about Trump, okay? Because we might never get to
I'm
talk about
only-
anything else.
I'm not cool.
NBA playoffs. Congratulations to the Oklahoma City Thunder, who will go up against the Minnesota Timberwolves. And then on the other side, the Knicks. I don't know how Knicks do it with smoke and mirrors, but they do it. No matter.
Yeah.
The Knicks, all the Knicks, New York fans are going crazy. Knicks versus surprising Indiana Pacers.
As long as the Celtics don't get another number 20, I'm good. That's fine.
Me too. And tomorrow.
Are you still talking sports? Because
No,
Giants
no
did
sports.
pretty well this weekend. It
Oh,
was
'cause
We
you went to the game.
and
That's
I
why.
showed her the game.
We
But
swept.
it was also the Battle of the Bays, but it's not
It was
called
not the
that
Battle of the Bays.
anymore. Like
They
the
played
Highway
the
80
A's?
or something. Yes, they did.
You mean the Sacramento A's? Oh, that sounds
It's
funny.
not.
Yeah.
Do they? I don't think they call them the Sacramento
What
A's.
they call?
I
Baller.
think the A's.
Just the
Ballers.
A's.
No, they just call them the A's.
Really?
Yeah.
They're called the We Left You A's.
They don't call them the city. They just call. They just say the A's. And the Oakland Ballers is a Division 2 or Division 3
Oh,
minor league team.
okay.
Baseball is
Alright.
fun to watch
Yeah,
at that park.
Baseball.
Mhm.
Hey, Doc, one more sports thing real quick. We had
with the big restaurant with a baseball stadium.
We did have a
attached
roast
to it.
beef sandwich. You're right. Everyone was at the Crazy Crab, and then they have fireworks at the end.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Wilmer hit the grand slam. He hit like
Yes.
3 or 4 of them, and we got to see that. So
that's
baseball,
cool.
Baseball's
that's
cool.
a fun place.
Well,
And we had some women's basketball
We gotta
debut.
get going. We gotta get
Nice.
going. What's up? What you
Oh,
got?
with the Valkyries made their season opening.
That
Yeah, I
is
know. I
a
saw
thing.
that.
That was
That was
huge.
cool.
And I want you to know, Mike, since we met your wonderful mother on the air last week,
Oh,
who called you Mikey. Like that. And Mike, I heard you call her mommy. But I
I
did.
say my.
The one Ann has already gone on the website to find some tickets. We're gonna get you and your mom to
I
the
got
game.
you, Miss
Yeah,
Melody.
we did.
Oh wow!
Yeah. You thought we were just gonna get her and not send you too?
Oh, I thought you only get. I thought you only get the cool stuff. I'm joking.
Stop, man.
Hey, and when you get them tickets, look for the day that Caitlin Clark is coming, okay?
Well, that's already probably sold out.
Oh,
All right,
dang.
Mom, we working on it.
Thank you. I
Okay.
appreciate that. so much.
All right. Lastly, tomorrow. Whose birthday is it tomorrow?
Mr. Malcolm X.
El Haj Malik El Sabah's birthday tomorrow. Malcolm X, the one and only, the one who I owe all of my, what do I
Seriously.
want to say? It's everything to. Malcolm X autobiography was the book. And of course, there was only one name that I was going to name my son, and it was, you can see right there, Malcolm. Happy
Really?
birthday, Malcolm X.
Hey, you know, the Malcolm X Jazz Festival went down this weekend in Oakland, and I wasn't there. I saw some of the clips online. Oakland's finest, Kev Choice, was out there playing. That's always a nice festival. And Doc, have you ever heard of this show? Anybody on the set heard of a TV show called The Godfather of Harlem?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
One of my favorite shows. It's a gangster show about Bumpy Johnson, New York gangster. But but Malcolm X is it's
He's
just
in the
crazy.
movie.
They make Malcolm one of the characters in the show.
Yeah,
Even though it's
Detroit
fictional,
Red,
just to see Malcolm X it just blows your mind.
yeah, man, he means so much to us. All right, tonight we're gonna do a show. Obviously, a topic we've never done before. It is Mental Health Awareness Month, and I realize, thanks to Corey G, so this is what we're gonna talk about. It's not characterized as mental illness per se or mental health, but it certainly impacts mental health. And we're going to have a conversation tonight about Alzheimer's and dementia. We're going to talk about that. It's we got some couple of great guests. Mark Lupe is here with us. Dr. Chris, how do you say your last name? Threat or Three?
Three.
That's what I thought, but I want to make sure with us, and we got some
answer
more
both.
folks coming in the second hour. This is a pretty serious topic, and I gotta say, Mark, before we jump into this, as I told people we were doing this topic, almost everybody said, "My family, my family." I was like, you kind of know it, but when you say you're doing it, they say that's good. That's good to talk about. It's good to talk about, and then they recount the story of somebody in their family getting dementia, getting Alzheimer's, and what they had to do. So we're gonna start with you because you got a personal stake in this, and you're the one who's really brought this to my attention. But let me get, first of all, how prevalent is Alzheimer's and dementia? Just if I can get that thought out of the way, and then secondly, how prevalent is it in the Black community and communities of color? Can we start there?
Easily.
Easily. Jump in the mic and be easy. Tell them who you are first.
Mark Lupe. Can you hear me okay?
Yep. Oh, you good.
Okay, good.
The world can hear you, man.
Okay. The prevalence is, if you look around the United States, on populations at the state level, about 12% of the population has Alzheimer's and other dementia. Let me be emphasized, other dementia.
12%.
Alzheimer's is just a subset of dementia.
Okay.
Then if you break it down by, I'm an analytical guy, you know that, Joe.
I know. I know. Now analyze getting close to that mic, okay?
Yeah. So if just take California. If you go out to Imperial County in Imperial, that has the highest percentage. If you look at that, going to your second question, because most of those people are call it Latinx folks.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And so answering your question, prevalent is very, very high. You look at the age groups of people migrating or matriculating to higher ages, you see it even become more prevalent depending upon the age group of certain populations. On the people of color side, about 2 times of the African American population of people with Alzheimer's are Black.
Really?
Yes. Latinx, 1.5 times.
Wait. Was that 2 times? That means 24%?
When you take, now let me just get the math right. So if you look at the number of people who have Alzheimer's,
Okay.
in total,
All right.
Black people have 2 times the propensity to contract Alzheimer's disease.
Wow.
You take it to the Latinx community,
Wow.
is 1.5x.
Wow.
All right.
Wow.
So, and then you start looking at the demographics around the United States, you start seeing a higher propensity even in the South and the Southeast. So you can, there's maps, and
Yeah. So
Go ahead.
well, it begs the question of why are we more susceptible? But we'll get into that. I say I write things down as I hear them, and you tell me why. But wow. Okay. Yes. Oh, okay.
Well, Chris,
Our folks are.
yeah, Chris will opine on this one too. You start looking at the social economics.
What's opine mean, bro? No, I'm
Sorry?
playing with you.
What you say?
No,
He's
I'm
teasing you
messing
about
with
your
you.
big work.
I'm messing with
He's
you.
teasing.
Oh. All right.
I'm playing with you.
No.
No.
Your audience should know.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
gotta
Okay.
dumb down.
So
For
there's a
audience.
higher likelihood because of people's. All right, Joe. All right, keep it real. So there is a higher likely people who have a low socioeconomic area.
Okay.
That's
There's a
Yeah,
relationship
right, and you get
between
and
those
you get
two.
the education,
Right.
but it is a
Socioeconomic,
socioeconomic
okay.
issue.
Okay.
All right, and having access to healthcare. Go ahead, Chris.
No, not
Oh.
there. Not yet. We'll come to
Okay,
that.
go ahead.
Why is this such a big deal to you? Because you've been talking about this pretty much since I met you, right? And even in casual conversations or serious conversations, I remember the first serious one we had about, you and your concern about Alzheimer's and dementia. Why? What is it? You and you.
My brother was born with Down syndrome
Hmm.
in 1963, and he died in 2016.
Hmm.
And over those years, starting out, talk about your first question about prevalence. We didn't find out my brother had Down syndrome until the next door neighbor told my mother that your son looks odd.
Hmm.
All right. In the Black community, that's kind of hard to take.
Yeah.
Any community, excuse me, because you tell someone's mother that. And then as time went on, we found out more, little bit more, because you think about it, she was pregnant. She was at the age of excess of 40. So if you look at over time, she was highly likely to have a child with Down syndrome. Is my mic okay?
Yeah, you're fine.
Your
Okay.
mic is good.
All right. And so he has special needs for sure. Over the years, the good news is he was able to get a job over the years, and which meant a lot. His paycheck may have been $3 because of his condition, but the self-esteem it gave him of getting a $3 check was huge.
Mm-hmm.
And in our neighborhood, if you go back to that time period, you may have used to hear the word retarded.
Yeah,
All right. That word is not used anymore.
that's
No.
correct.
All right. But we have matured as a society to use more quote unquote proper terms. But that's what he was called. But the good news is I lived in a neighborhood, Black neighborhood, and everybody loved John. So there was no issue about, hey, your brother's got special issues. We never had that issue. Everybody embraced him. And I find that happens a lot in all other communities too, because people embrace based upon the attitude of the family and the neighborhood. And then, I lived in 140th Street in Avalon, if those of you who know South Los Angeles, right?
Like me.
Yeah, I know. That's why I said that.
Yeah.
All right. You know exactly where I lived. And so, we moved around a little bit, and I'm going to fast forward if you don't mind. My father he had serious challenges of having a son because we have 4 boys in the family, and John was number 4. My brothers ran track. We did all kinds of sports and everything. The good news, even John was in the Special Olympics. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And we were big in the Special Olympics over time. And then, he's probably in his 20s at this stage. And as my parents decided to move to Vegas, no income taxes at that stage. And my father said, it's time to move on. And my parents were very involved in development of disabled folks. And so as they went to Vegas, and just pause, you start going to other states that have no income taxes. Sounds great. But services lack. We complain all the time about these high taxes in California, but a lot goes to healthcare. A lot goes to healthcare and other services. All right. And so they were challenged, but my father was able to, get involved in community. And my brother went to a place called Opportunity Village, where they made things for the people in the hotels in Vegas. And I say that just to provide context on how one goes through the journey. And then about the age 40, you start having attitude issues, serious attitude issues,
Mm.
agitated easily, um, violent with my mother, violent with my father, violent with his supervisor, violent with his co-workers. And he punched me out.
Mm.
And about 30 seconds later, I'm sorry. So it was very, very difficult to see these gyrations of attitudes on, off, on, off, to the point where he was fired from work. He was in a group home with other kids who were disabled, most mental, not physical. Getting to your point about mental health, Joe, and they said he cannot live here anymore because he's hurting people.
Wow.
He had to live in a padded room to make sure that he was safe for himself and others. And so now he's probably getting in his late 40s, and it's hard for a mother to deal with her son. Father too, but probably more. It was more tough for my mother, and I felt that let's go see the doctor. Here, now he had tests all along, but no one ever diagnosed dementia, which is initially some of the first signs before it even goes into Alzheimer's. And he saw a psychiatrist. And the psychiatrist, what they do, the best they could do, they medicated him. Heavy medication. Where the point he was a shell. You could talk to John and eyes glazy and high because of the meds. And that was a very painful scene to see. And what you find is people who have Down syndrome at that time, the average age life expectancy is in the mid 50s. He died at 53. We went through hospice.
Mm.
I would say it's bittersweet, quite honestly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He went fast.
Mm-hmm.
There are many people who have Alzheimer's who have a slow way to get through it. You'll talk to people and families that it could be 10 years, 15 years, 20 years with someone with Alzheimer's. Not to mention the financial drain on the family to do that. So you asked me, Joe, how to get involved.
That what we know now.
Now, all right. So
Yeah.
2016, he died.
Yeah.
And I decided to do something. And in 2017, I became part of the Alzheimer's Association just because my first walk was in San Francisco in 2017,
Yeah.
and thing one led to another. In 2020, when we had COVID, I had some other guys, Andre Campbell and
Yeah.
others in our organization. And
Yeah.
I remember a guy named Aubrey Dent. He was in our organization.
Yep.
And Aubrey had zero bedtime sense, zero. He told me, Mark, get over it. Your brother's not going to get any better. He was honest with me. He was right. It was very, very fast process. And the physical attributes of my brother deteriorated extremely, declined substantially to the point putting him in hospice, to the point in time of pulling the plug. And I have to say, I was fortunate. My family was fortunate. I got two older brothers. We're involved. Took him to as a brotherhood, going to other doctors, trying to get him treatment. But the journey and why I'm involved, Joe, is because there are a whole lot of people going through this. My story is not unique. It's not unique.
Yeah.
I'm just giving you my story. But a lot of people are going through this, and the data shows it's getting worse because of the aging of our population and services and the like. Let me pause there, Joe, if that's okay.
Wow. No. Thank you for you for sharing it so calm. But thank you for telling us about it. It's painful.
Yeah.
There was a long pause between when I asked you and when you began speaking, and that's very understandable. Let me throw the number out To those listening or watching, 877-955-1061, 877-955-1061. If you want to call and share your stories of Alzheimer's or dementia in your family, please do so. If you got questions, we think we got some pretty good folks in here who can answer, things about long-term care and is it inevitable? It's going to be my big question at some point. Uh, what you can talk about what you're going through because the toll it takes on the caregivers is incredible. 877-955-1061. If you call, when you call, we'll put you straight through. This just for me, I remember my aunt had Alzheimer's, and to echo what you said, when she got it, she turned into a raging mom. I was like, you know, it was. Are you the same person? I mean, anger. That's right. Am I wrong? Is that what goes along with it? It's sort of one with her. We didn't. That was hers. She was angry. She would fits. We didn't know who she was. We couldn't believe she was the same person that we know all of our life. When my mom got older, I couldn't. Got to the point where she couldn't even they'll go in and say, "Is that you?" She can remember me. So this dementia, Alzheimer's thing is it seems to. We got a call. Okay, let's go there. Let's go there first. Okay, listen. Hi, you're on the air. Up, gone. 877-955. Hi, you're on Street Soldiers. Thanks for calling. We're talking about Alzheimer's and dementia. Do you something you want to share? Go right ahead. Say your name and
I'm so
begin.
grateful for the programming. I had
Yep.
I watched
Yep.
my grandmother
Can't hear.
take care of her mother.
Can't hear.
And,
Maybe on Zoom or mute.
No.
Okay.
No,
Okay. All right. We'll try.
is
Call
that
back.
better?
877-955-1061. Here we go. Listen, Mike, can we take this one right quick? Okay. Thank you, sir. All right. All right. Got him? Yes? No? Maybe? You there?
Hello?
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, I'm here.
Thanks for giving us a call. We're
Hey,
talking
man, I'm doing.
Alzheimer's and dementia with it's tough. You got something you want to share with it? Maybe family or some questions?
Yes, I do, my man. Hey, I've never called a radio station in my life, and I just got in a big fight with the family, man. I and hopped in the car, and this thing came on the radio. It just felt kind of right to call, bro. I'm struggling as a caregiver, bro. It's tough, man. It's it's been taking a toll on me for about 20 years, and I don't know much. I don't really know what to say other than it's kind of been pulling my family apart, and I'm
Okay,
just kind of looking for a little bit of advice here.
can you say what's going
Yeah.
on? Is it related to Alzheimer's or dementia that you? I mean, can you no names, but can you say what the situation is?
So my mom's brother, my mom dementia, my grandma and grandpa both had dementia, and so I think my mom's getting to that age where she's getting the same thing, and it's hard for me to say that, but I think that's where we're at right now. My brother and sister moved out of the Bay Area about 20 years ago, and I've been here taking care of her for a while, and I'm just tired of fighting with everybody, man. It's been a struggle, and it's tough, and it's causing a wedge between my wife and my family, and I'm kind of in the middle, and I'm just trying to make everybody happy, and it's tough, man. Fuck.
Any words for either one, both? Mark, Chris?
Yeah, I'll take it. Understand their situation again is not unique of being in the middle. And what I suggest is the following. Getting educated, I would say, is the most important piece first. And there will be someone on the
Okay.
line later on from the Alzheimer's Association. But what I did I call the Alzheimer's hotline because I was going through your issue. I didn't have all the dynamics that you're going through, but I understand because I talked to other people about, um, you know, what's likely to happen next. There's also a material that we'll send to you on the through Zoom probably is the facts and figures of dementia. It's a pretty lengthy document, but it tells you a lot. So when you do call the hotline and say, listen, I don't want to read anything, I just want some answers, the hotline saved me.
Yep.
I was driving to work one day
Mm.
feeling just like you are feeling. And what do I do next? And as you know,
Yeah.
all right, you don't know what to do next. So you call these people, and it's not like any other hotline I never call. It's not like calling United and putting in a queue.
Mhm.
These people have empathy. They can connect you to resources, and just the fact you can talk to someone who's not judgmental, who can help guide you through those emotional stages that you're going through, and also help you understand
Yeah.
that. And I like Chris to weigh in on this with me. There appears the material I've read so far, and I'm not a doctor. I'm just a guy.
Okay.
Can we
Just
throw
right.
the number, the hotline number out right now?
Sure. So just
Ann has
yep.
it. Ann
So you
has
can
it.
definitely Google it. So the Alzheimer's hotline. But if you have a pen, you can also write down 1-800-272-3900, and they're available 24 hours a day, every day.
Say that
So
number one more time. I'm right there.
1-800-272-3900.
39.
Thank you, Ann.
Thank you for sharing with us.
Yeah.
First, you wanted.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
Hey, no, we got one more. Hang
Appreciate
on.
it.
Go ahead.
I think, and hi, I am a physician, and I've seen this situation a number of times. It's always most difficult when you've just walked away from the interaction and you're reactive and your emotions are in a storm. So it's hard to have clarity around things. So
Yeah.
I think the best thing to do at this moment is just to give yourself grace and give yourself a little time to de-escalate. And if that means
Yeah.
getting out the car and walking or whatever it is you do to kind of allow your mind to settle down, but just know that there's nothing you
Yeah.
need to do right at this moment since you are not in danger.
No,
Once
I'm
you've-
good. I'm okay. It just, yeah.
And
No,
Sorry.
and having his number, I mean, it's Mark said it saved him. It helped him.
Right.
And there's nothing better than a recommendation from somebody that actually worked. So, call that number 800-272-3900. We'll probably repeat it 3-4 times as we go on. And call us back at some point and let us know if it worked.
I've been listening to you guys since I was 12 years old, man. I'm 38. A long time. Love you guys.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you for calling.
One
Thank
last
you.
point I wanted to make. I was actually getting to the most important point, which is once
Yeah.
you've had a chance to allow all these things to settle down, you have siblings that are out of town, but you seem to be the primary caregiver.
Yeah.
And
100%. Yeah.
it's going to be it's going to be really important once you get yourself armed. Make sure you get on a Zoom call with your mom's physician, because he or she may not be aware of where you are with things. So that way that physician can start setting up some of the institutional resources that are available, but they may not know they need to do that. So,
For me or for her?
for her, because
Yeah.
there's a lot of
Her.
resources.
Okay.
There's a lot of resources that she may not have access to. That would
She's
allow.
a stubborn woman. She's stubborn.
Understood. Yeah, no, my grandmother was the same way, and she almost burned the house down twice when
Wow.
she had Alzheimer's, and she gave away all of her jewelry, her wedding ring, her
Wow.
yeah, all of this, and
All
we
that goes
would
with
go
it.
looking for deer when she was sort of
Yep.
at her final more severe stages of dementia. So and I
Thank
guarantee.
Thank you guys.
Thanks for calling,
Yeah.
man. I'm glad we were able to
Yeah.
provide you with something. Okay. Oh wow. Look at that. That's what you might say somebody who's
We got
going
about
through it
12
right
more
now.
minutes.
Yeah.
Amazing. All right, 877-955-1061 if you want to call. If you got a situation like that, or if you just want more information. Let's go to, I was going to ask the difference between Alzheimer's and dementia, which I have written, but go ahead. Go say what you're going to say.
Yeah, I feel for the guy on the call.
Yeah.
All right, a lot, and you'll find the material out there. And again, I'm not the top, but the data you read says, what are the 3 areas that put someone at high risk?
Okay. Okay.
One is age.
Age. Got it.
Okay. One is having a certain gene. There are 2 proteins in the brain that drive that Alzheimer's path.
A certain gene in the
There are
brain.
2 primary genes. All
Okay,
right. I'm not
okay.
going to get into the technical side of it. There are 2
Yeah.
And the third one is family history.
Oh, yeah.
And the guy who was just on the phone,
Yeah.
or is on the phone,
Yeah.
did talk about that.
Yeah.
And so, again,
He did.
everyone's different.
Family
Let's be
history,
clear.
yeah.
There's no silver bullet on all of it.
Yeah.
But there is data that just does say, folks who have a high likelihood of contracting. Okay. Just want to go ahead.
Other things to add to that.
Uh-huh.
And
Please.
I think this is where it gets a little tricky because there is no cure for Alzheimer's or dementia right now, but
Are they making progress?
it's yes, and it's slow.
Uh,
But there's things that we can do to push it out and reduce the likelihood. And they're not real complicated things. They're just not easy. So again, they're not complicated, but they're not easy. And these are things that cross all of the other areas of medical disciplines, cardiology, gastroenterology, cancer, orthopedics. And when we're trying to
but what are the
address
things
one
I'm
issue.
ready to write now? What are the things that we could do?
Okay, diet.
Diet. Okay.
Yeah. So antioxidants
Really? Okay.
and antioxidants are things like berries, omega-3 fatty acids, and the things that kill us in our community is high saturated fat diet.
Yeah. Lord.
Yeah. No, put it back out here.
No.
You see the brand.
Yeah.
Saturated fat.
brand.
Yeah, Lord.
No, so again, I mean, and these are the things that they put in our environment that are very addictive. And so we crave them. But if you can't, when you look at the back of a package and none of it can be bought in the store, and you can't even understand the chemicals of what you're eating, then you are adding to your risk factors and accelerating your entry into not just dementia, but all of these other chronic diseases. Inflammation is one of the key components. Number 2 is physical activity.
Yeah.
When I look around, you have to wonder, Mark and I, we were joking a lot earlier about, what we do on a day-to-day basis. It doesn't have to, you don't need to have a gym membership at Equinox at $300 a day. You can walk around the block twice a day, get down, do some push-ups, get a jump rope. Joe, isn't that what you do?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I certainly
get
do.
on that
And
jump
I
rope?
lost my mic wherever it is.
So
My back.
Watch your back.
Oh.
So-
Yeah.
I don't know how much that has to do with what we're talking about. But let me ask you this. You hear things about when it comes to Alzheimer's and dementia about keeping mentally alert.
that was number 3.
That's number 3.
You beat me to it.
Playing well, I'm because I'm writing this down. I want to get all this out for these folks who are listening out there. By the way, there's still time if you want to get in before we close this hour. 877-955-1061. If you want to call in, ask a question. I hope you're taking notes or share your particular story of a loved one who is going through it and your own struggle with it. Please do so. 877-955-1061. Talk about that mental acuity thing.
Let's go there, because again, it has to do with education, and it's not necessarily your college education. It's being a lifelong learner.
Mm,
Like you want to take up knitting.
mm,
You want to learn a language.
mm-hmm.
You want to learn how to ride a bike or build something. Go into the community college. It doesn't really matter what you do, but you take up something new and you keep your mind actively engaged. And that's not watching the news every day, but it's really spending that time doing something where you challenge your mind to do something it hadn't done before. Even cooking new meals or buying a cookbook and trying new recipes doesn't have to be necessarily anything academic. So when we start dissecting dementia and we look at communities that have done extremely well, there's something called blue zones. And
Yeah,
talked about
yeah,
these
I've heard
before.
that. Yeah, yeah,
There blue zones are these areas in the
in the
world
world.
where
Yeah,
people live to be 100.
Oh,
yeah,
Dementia is very low.
yeah,
Alzheimer's is very low.
low. Yeah,
wow.
yeah.
High quality of death, and they don't have all the medical technology we have here, and they do better than us. And they do better than us because of those things. And the other thing we didn't talk about is social fitness, which is purpose. You know, the church has always been so important in our community, but we're losing a lot of that
Connection, those
focus
social
and that
connection.
connection
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I agree
and
with that.
family.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The social fitness, purpose, um, reaching for something better than bigger than yourself. All of those things, when you start to put them
Related.
together, and again, they're not complicated, but they're not easy.
Uh,
How is your social fitness? Are you in a good relationship? This brother's having a hard time. The guy that called us on the phone, he's having a hard times with his sisters and brothers. His mom is suffering from a chronic mental illness, or I shouldn't call it a mental illness, but a chronic illness, cognitive illness that he doesn't even understand. He just knows she's coming at him with all this rage, and he's having a hard time processing it. His social support system is not, thank you, it's not where it needs to be.
See, every time you say something, it sparks something in my head. So everything's going fine, seemingly, and then what I've seen is that boom, one day. But I guess that's with any illness. I shouldn't just say that with dementia. That was things are seemingly going fine. Maybe that's a good way to put it, right? Maybe seemingly going fine, and then one day you can't remember. You know, you see it, and it seems like it came out of nowhere, and I guess maybe you just caught completely off guard and you just know that they can't find their keys, they can't find this, so on and so forth and so forth. Is there a way as family members, not as a person, to sort of like, I don't know, just what can you go ahead, yeah,
Can you
you see I'm struggling because
can you define the difference between, because we only have about 5 more minutes,
yeah,
between dementia and Alzheimer's?
Yeah. So let's start it. Dementia is the umbrella. The dementia is the umbrella. Alzheimer just happens to be the bulk of the disease under the Alzheimer's umbrella.
Got it.
You can put Parkinson's under there to some extent. You can put vascular issues.
Alcoholic encephalopathy.
Yes. All right. So that's what people always ask. Alzheimer's is the most important disease. I should say important, prevalent disease
Got it.
under the dementia umbrella.
Got it.
Then everything goes from there.
Okay. Got
Right?
it.
As Chris was talking about, heart disease can be a trigger for some of that too. Right? And
So the more you,
go ahead.
so for example, drinking alcohol. I partake in drinking alcohol sometimes. I partake in smoking marijuana.
Mm-hmm.
Does that does that lead towards dementia?
You don't
Yes.
everything,
Let me
and
help you.
yes,
Yes,
it
it
does. All right. But always also in moderation. Yeah. No.
No, I mean the thing is, what I have to talk to patients about. I partake in a little alcohol too, and things in
Tell
moderation.
Mom to say I partake in a little alcohol. I know both of these guys. Okay, go ahead. I mean, I love the way, you know, they don't say I drink. They say I partake in a little alcohol.
I go there sometimes.
No, but
Might be listening.
Right. Moms might be listening.
yeah.
We actually got a caller. If you can answer that real quick, we got
Yeah.
a caller. We're gonna get to a caller right after your answer.
We can get. Oh,
Let's do the
no, go
caller
ahead and
first.
get the caller.
Let's do the caller. Go
I know
ahead.
we're
Yeah.
running tight.
Hi, you're on the air. Street Soldiers, go right ahead. Talk about dementia and Alzheimer's.
Hey,
Go ahead.
We hear you.
hey, good evening, everyone. Hi, my name is Randall Wright. I'm a neurologist in Houston, Texas. I want to call in and just say thank you guys for raising this conversation about cognitive disorders, specifically dementia and Alzheimer's, and really getting the message out to the community. I really do appreciate what you guys are doing.
Oh, yeah.
Yep,
Well,
go
you,
ahead.
you right ahead.
Go ahead with your
Thank
point.
you.
We only got like 3 minutes left on the
Is it
air.
something
at
what you
Cameo.
want to add to it, or just want to thank us? We appreciate the thanks. Believe me.
No, yeah, I do want to add just to add that when we look at treating dementia, that I think there's also things that we as a community can do. Many of it does come back down to our lifestyles. And you mentioned the blue zones and why are they different than other individuals?
Yeah.
And you mentioned the community. And when we think about things like the Mediterranean diet, we say the word diet versus lifestyle. And I think to the point that you were trying to elicit was that it's not just what we eat, it's how we live, it's how we interact with our families.
Right.
And all those things can lead to a positive cognitive state, meaning that we can truly change how our brains function based upon what we put into our bodies, how we live our lives, and by getting that message out, that there is some level of us taking medication, but prevention is the biggest thing that I think at this point we can do.
Yeah.
100%.
We used to call stroke CVA, which stands for cerebrovascular accident, because we had no clue what caused it.
Mm.
Then we learned that it was tied to blood pressure being high, tied to high cholesterol, and even high sugar. And as you modify those risk factors, the risk of stroke goes down. For a long time, we had no risk factors for dementia, or Alzheimer's specifically. But now we're understanding what those risk factors are. And by getting in a words campaign, I like what you're doing now, can really hone in the point that it's our diet, it's how we exercise, it's our sleep, and how we engage socially are all things that we can do now that can reduce our risk in the future. So thank you guys for what you're doing.
And thank you for this, because see, the big question I had after all this talk was, is it inevitable? See, and you know, and you're saying not necessarily, which is good. There are prevention strategies, there are risk factors to avoid, and
Absolutely.
that's almost all at this point that we can hope for, to try and stave it off. Yeah,
And Joe, a lot of times what I tell patients when they come to see me, death is inevitable. How do you want to die?
Wow.
Or how long you want? How long you want to keep death at bay?
Well, the goal is to go as long as you can and then drop. You don't want to be in a chronic state.
Yeah.
I would like to say the
We
guy
got
on the
1
call
minute. We got 1 minute.
is Randy Wright. It's 11 o'clock, and he's the neurologist in Houston, Texas.
Thank you so much, man.
Way past my bedtime.
Yeah, but thank you.
Thanks, Randy. Thanks,
Thank
Randy.
you so much. All right, we are going to move over to YouTube and tell them where we got some more
All
folks
right,
coming in to join in
yes.
the conversation. And
That's right. We have more people coming in. And so go ahead and join us on YouTube Live at Stay Alive and Free. And you can always keep up with the conversation when you visit us at stayaliveandfree.org. We are live.
All right, hour number 2, Alive and Free, Street Soldiers Radio. What a first hour. What a first hour. Our first hour. Just incredible.
Information.
As part of Mental Health Awareness Month, we are talking about something that is not directly a considered a mental illness, but can affect your mental health. We've been talking about Alzheimer's and dementia, and I just can't say what a wonderful first hour it was. Great calls, great appreciation, and we're going to keep it going this hour. And we are joined by, I think, 3 others who are going to contribute to the conversation. So let me make sure they're all here.
They are.
I see Charles Wyndham. Is that correct? Wave your hand, or as they say, wave your hand in the air like you really do care. Okay. All right. We have Cheryl Johnson. Hello, Cheryl. Thank you. And we have Gloria Brown. Thank you, thank you, and thank you. Thank you for taking the time out. This thing already has had a huge impact. I don't know if you heard the first hour. Just that one caller. I mean, there were other callers, but that one caller shows the importance of us being able to reach out directly over the air to people going through similar situations. And he certainly was. And I really got to thank Mark and Chris for just comforting that man. That's the comfort, and then tell him exactly what to do. I mean, just that hotline was huge. So let's continue, and let me find out from each of you. You know, I know you're invested in this issue, but I got to find out why. So Gloria, let's start with you. All right, go right ahead.
So I am a co-founder of a health committee through our local hospital, and we would cover a number of health-related issues, Alzheimer's and dementia being one. Never thought that I would be dealing with it on a very personal basis. But in 2015, my husband was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And that's when our journey began. I was a caregiver for him for 6 years and still very involved in outreach efforts with the Alzheimer's Association and our local police department and other grassroots organizations that are dealing with cognitive issues.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Cheryl, let's go to you.
Yes, hello. I am a community outreach specialist for the Alzheimer's Association, and my journey started with the Alzheimer's Association as a result of my mother having Alzheimer's. And interestingly enough, she was never diagnosed. We got oh, well, it happens to you when you get old, just go home and make the best of it.
Wait, say
So
that
I've
one more
gone through,
time. Now, just say that we got the old well.
Ah,
yes,
Just
it's
repeat that
you're
again.
we were told you're old, it's going to happen to you when you get old. Just go home and make the best out of your life.
That's what the doctors told you.
This is what the doctors, and in hindsight, I can't fault him and I can't get angry because he was using the knowledge that he had. And
Okay.
that's all that, so, you do what you do. And the other fact is, and we're finding this more often than not, when you're talking about someone who's Black or African American,
Yeah.
there is such a disparity in the healthcare system
Yeah.
as if you're just dismissed, especially if you're a senior.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. And Charles, go right ahead. Your interest. And thank you for being here.
Of course, thank you so much for the invitation. So, I'm a behavioral neurologist actually by training. And so I take care of individuals who have essentially many different causes of cognitive impairment and dementia, whether it be Alzheimer's disease or frontotemporal dementia, et cetera. I've been very fortunate to get to know individuals like Gloria and Cheryl, and Mark as well, who are really pillars in the community and have tried to just do a little bit of education and do what I can do in kind of my efforts to make a difference. This issue really matters to me not only because of what I do from a work standpoint, but because also I was a caregiver before I actually ever went off to school and got my medical training. I helped my father take care of his mother, and like many folks have mentioned on the call, I remember the caregiving journey, and particularly the journey with regards to the healthcare system being dismissed, not having access to resources in terms of diagnostics, and other kind of strategies for managing dementia. I fondly, not so fondly, I should say I more I remember those things very well, even though they are very bitter memories in many ways.
There's many ways to go here, but I want to go back to being a caregiver and I'm going to say the toll it takes on the caregiver. If you could just, Mark talked about his, if you could just talk about what that was like for you. Appreciate it, not appreciate all of that. I just, that just seems to be so, I don't know, so tough to do, right? And the caller was talking about it. He was the only one, right? He was the only one in his family. But what was it like for? I guess it's just, I don't know if it's all three of you were caregivers. I know I heard Cheryl and Charles talk about it. What was that like for you to have to do that?
Before you answer that question,
Yeah.
before you answer that question,
Yeah.
we having technical difficulties. I have to record something real quick. If you guys can give me 1 minute.
yep, that's fine. And I'm
Okay.
just gonna mute real quick.
Okay.
I'm gonna play a
Hang on,
song.
everybody.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
Yeah, Glory has a good.
Tell me what you see when you look at me. Do you see another brother lost in these streets looking for his soul? Trying to find my soul. Or do you see another brother searching for lost souls in these streets? A street soldier. Street soldier. Here to help you get that chip off your shoulder, warm your colder days and sober your drunken ways, and find a way to help you get over these hurdles placed in our path. And this is not meant to amuse you. This is for all those who have questions but are afraid to ask.
I won't be afraid. I won't be afraid. No. When times get hard, you lose your way. Open your mind and hear what I say.
This is a message for the hard and the soft. To those who tune in weekly and to those who keep an eye out for 8 p.m. on Sundays and turn their radios off. The truth hurts. The cloth has been pulled. We're walking around half dead. Use this show as your IV. Alive and Free is a new movement. We We've achieved self-destruction. A street soldier promotes self-improvement.
Streets couldn't be no colder, so I gotta be a soldier. It shouldn't be this hard for me. Even when it seems so hopeless, I gotta keep my focus. I'm glad to be alive and free, yeah. Streets couldn't be no colder, so I gotta be a soldier. It shouldn't be this hard for me. Even when it seems so hopeless, I gotta keep my focus. I'm glad to be alive and free, yeah.
Tell me what you see when you look at me. Do you see another brother lost in these streets looking for his soul?
Trying to find my soul.
Or do you see another brother searching for lost souls in these streets? A street soldier.
Street soldier.
Here to help you get that chip off your shoulder, warm your colder days and sober your drunken ways, and find a way to help you get over these hurdles placed in our path. And this is not meant to amuse you. This is for all those who have questions but are afraid to ask.
I won't be afraid. I won't be afraid. No. When times get hard, you lose your way. Open your mind and hear what I say.
This is a message for the hard and the soft. To those who tune in weekly and to those who keep an eye out for 8 p.m. on Sundays and turn their radios off. The truth hurts. The cloth has been pulled. We're walking around half dead. Use this show as your IV. Alive and free is a new movement. We've achieved self-destruction. A street soldier promotes self-improvement.
Streets couldn't be no colder, so I gotta be a soldier. It shouldn't be this hard for me. Even when it seems so hopeless, I gotta keep my focus. I'm glad to be alive and free, yeah. Streets couldn't be no colder, so I gotta be a soldier. It shouldn't be this hard for me. Even when it seems so hopeless, I gotta keep my focus. I'm glad to be alive and free, yeah.
Street Soldiers Radio will continue our conversation on much better dementia and Alzheimer's, and we were asking about caregivers and what that was like. And so I believe who was going to be first? Was Gloria going to be first? Gloria, you go right ahead. Thank you. You got to unmute. Unmute.
Sorry about that.
Here she go.
Just before going on the air, I came across a little statement that really resonated with me because that's exactly how I felt during the 6 years I cared for my husband. Caregiving is a labor of love that can demand every bit of both. And I guess that's the way I felt. We were married 52 years, and
Wow.
I just could not bring myself to putting him in any kind of institutional setting. So I made a conscious decision to keep him at home as long as I could keep him. It is extremely, extremely difficult for one person. For two people, I had eventually had to get some help in the house, but the sole burden was basically on me. But I felt, I took our marriage vows very seriously and felt that in sickness and in health, and I would care for him. I had to just put almost everything on the back burner. The organizations I belong to, my interaction with with friends, trying to keep the house, I found myself going to the grocery store at 5 in the morning because oftentimes I'd be up with him during the evening and at night, and then he would sleep, and then I could get some things done. So when the caregiver finally arrived, I spent a lot of time just trying to catch up on my rest. But it is something that um, to experience it's something that um, has been very difficult,
Yeah. Yeah.
very difficult.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Either Cheryl or Charles, go right ahead. Yeah, Charles. How about you? Probably could resonate with some of that.
Dr. Wyndon. Mm-hmm.
Dr. Wind.
Cheryl, if you want to go, I saw you jump off mute, Cheryl.
Okay, thank you. Um, my story, as I mentioned before, my mother was not really diagnosed. It was more of a mild cognitive impairment, is what they had said. But the interesting thing about my situation is my mother was a caregiver for my father who had cancer. And so it was so easy for her to distract us from the things that she was doing, thinking, oh, it's just that her mind is, she's thinking about taking care of him, and it's overwhelming for her. And so my older brother moved in with them to help her with my father. And as I would talk to my mother, I knew that there was something that was wrong, but I remember the gentleman that called earlier, and he was talking about the siblings. Siblings don't always work with you. I had three brothers, and they could not accept the fact that there was something that was wrong with my mother. And I knew, because I'm the only girl, and she and I had this really close relationship. And then all of a sudden it became superficial. How's the weather? Or just and constantly repeating the same questions over and over again. And my father passed away, and then it became more apparent that there was something that was wrong. But of course, she's grieving. There was always an excuse for them not to accept the fact that there was something that was going on. Well, she got in the car to go to the grocery store, which was about 2 blocks away, and could not remember how to get home. You cannot ignore that. And that's when I took her to the doctors, and that's when we got oh, yeah, she has some cognitive impairment. But again, old people do that. I mean, it's just a part of growing older. Just go home and enjoy the rest of your life. Well, my mother lived for 14 years in that state of mind. And for me, it was more about not holding her hostage to who she had been, but loving and caring for the person that she was. When you're living with and I wish I'd had an opportunity to talk to that young man. When you're living with someone, it's the disease. Don't take it personal. It's the disease. And you have to just go to where they are. And that's how you can survive.
Wow. That's marvelous advice. It's the disease. Thank you. Thank you.
It's the disease.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Charles, Dr. Wyndham, excuse me. And I have to do that because I know you pay a lot of money for that degree. Okay. I got paid a lot for mine. So yes. Go right
Yeah, no worries. Feel free to call me Charles. I think, the testimony shared by Gloria and Cheryl are very powerful. I think in just adding a couple of things that I went through in terms of my own journey with my grandmother, you fail to realize, I think, when you're in the midst of caregiving, how much of the family it ultimately touches, as well as how much of the family can withdraw. And I realize this personally in terms of my father's interactions with his own siblings, and there tends to be one or two individuals who kind of come to the forefront and end up being really the person who takes on the caregiving responsibility. But it's very interesting to see how relationships change actually between family members as this caretaker takes on more of a role. And I saw that. I think the other thing is really just the intergenerational aspect of caregiving. So understanding that it basically perpetuates across generations. It's not just, so my grandmother, she died at 101 with essentially pretty severe Alzheimer's. But it was my father, it was myself and all of my siblings. It touched multiple generations over the course of essentially kind of her life as she went through the disease process. And that's something also that I think you don't realize while you're in it, is how many other individuals, how many other generations are in effect becoming exposed to caregiving. And I think what Gloria mentioned with regards to it being a labor of love, there's no other better words to really describe it. And it was hard, I would say personally, to see my father go through the changes he went through as a result of the caregiving process. It truly is a labor of love. You cannot do it without a tremendous love for the individual who you're caring for, but it also requires a significant amount of you. And it's hard sometimes to see that, to see somebody actually give so much of themselves, even sometimes to their own detriment.
Even sometimes to their own detriment. That's you think, especially when it comes to your parents, even the people you love, the supermen, the superwoman. It's like you just can't imagine them. Even if you imagine them getting some illness, but you can't imagine their mind going. You just can't. You're right. I'm just thinking about my own family when both of my parents got to the age where they had to be, 24-hour looked after. Uh, I'm the oldest of nine, and I'm not located necessarily where they are. I'm not far away, but they live in Sacramento. I'm down here, and you just make me think about how particularly well, no, all of them who are here just rallied to the cause, and that's beautiful. That's so beautiful. And I'm thinking about this young man and how they just everybody's got to pitch in, and they had schedules and they had this and that. You going over this over, and they said, "Well, I can send money, when I get there when I can." So you have to admire the love that families, individuals, and families show in those situations. Uh, you just you rise to it. So I want to just thank all of you, Mark, and anybody else who does that, because it is love. It is really love. Um, it's good to hear, and then anybody can jump in now and anything you want to add, you want to put in, you want people to remember, so on and so forth. It's good to hear that he kind of, Chris kind of hurt me when he said there is no cure, which I knew, but I didn't like hearing it. But there are steps you can take to sort of keep it at bay as best you can. So Mark has his hand up, so go.
I like Chris and Dr. Wyndham, Charles, to mention the fact that yes, there's no cure, but 2024 was a big year for slowing the progression of Alzheimer's.
Oh, let me
Okay.
write that down. See, that's good.
All right.
Tell me
So,
good stuff.
all right.
Slowing down the progression.
Now it doesn't. There's no, again, not a silver bullet, but has been a lot of progress in the pharmaceutical industry.
Okay.
And last year, and there's just been some starts and stops, but there are two drugs out there that will deal with the proteins in the brain, but it's not a cure, like Chris said, but it can slow. Like use the word can slow the progression of Alzheimer's in certain individuals.
Yeah, tell me. I want to hear that.
Yeah, I'm happy to share a couple of thoughts. So, I think maybe to make a more general statement to begin with, when we think about cognitive impairment, mild cognitive impairment, dementia, we have to understand that these are umbrella terms, right? These describe how somebody essentially is functioning day to day, but it doesn't necessarily describe what is the disease process that is occurring. And so often when we go to the doctor, unfortunately, what we're told is, oh, mom or dad has dementia, and exactly as Cheryl mentioned, just go home and enjoy the rest of life. And I tell folks all the time, the immediate next question needs to be, if the doctor's telling you your loved one has dementia, the immediate next question needs to be, what is causing the dementia, right? I need to know without a shadow of a doubt why my loved one has dementia. Do they have dementia because they've had multiple strokes? Do they have dementia because they have Alzheimer's proteins in the brain? Do they have dementia because they have long-standing Parkinson's disease that has now led to dementia? You need to tell me why specifically my loved one has dementia. And the reason this matters is because, as Mark was saying, we now have tests, one, not only to actually identify when there are Alzheimer's disease proteins building up in the brain that are causing these cognitive symptoms, but we now have medicines to actually remove one of the Alzheimer's associated proteins, which is the amyloid protein. We have two FDA-approved medications that actually effectively remove this protein from the brain and slow down the progression of the disease. There are clinical trials actually going on currently as well that are looking at removal of the second protein of Alzheimer's from the brain, which is the tau protein, which is actually the protein we believe tracks more strongly with cognitive impairment. So as tau really starts to build up in the brain, that's usually when folks really start to tank in terms of memory and thinking. So we're working on clinical trials and have trials ongoing now that actually target the tau protein. And of course, we have the two FDA-approved medicines that remove the amyloid protein. So a lot of progress has been made in the therapy realm for Alzheimer's in particular, not so much from a standpoint of the other conditions that cause dementia, unfortunately, things like frontotemporal dementia, et cetera. We need much more research in that area. But there is more hope now with regards to at least slowing things down, as opposed to, you rewind 15 years ago, we didn't have these things available. These medications, really, you're talking about within the last 5 years or so, FDA approval and their availability in a clinic.
I'm going to ask a tough question, but for me, it's not tough. And especially when when I heard about the impact that it has in, the black community, the disease in the black community and communities of color. This administration, and I'm saying that because I don't want to cuss, seems like I don't care about none of y'all, right? And every day I hear him, cutting this and cutting that, and I don't want to hear about disparate impact and all that. I mean, if the research has is moving forward and getting us so much progress in a lot of these areas that that we need progress in. It's as simple as that. It's illness, right? You figure it'd be a no-brainer, as much research as possible. And a lot of this is letting folks know what they call disparate, and disproportional impact. This guy don't seem to give a almost cuss. Okay, he doesn't seem to care at all. Is there concern in the medical community that that progress is going to be slowed down by this? And anybody can answer that question when it comes to just health impacts, particularly for our folks and people of color.
Well, before I turn it over to Dr. Winden, there was a statement made last year at a conference that really resonated with me. And that statement was, the cavalry is not coming. We are the cavalry. So we can sit and complain and we can talk and pontificate about where things are around the things we can't control, but we can certainly work on the things we can't control, right? And we talked a little bit about those things as it relates to the health of our community, and some of the things that are, while not easy, are not necessarily impossible. And so with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Dr. Winden.
Well, I'm going to say it's very nice of you. Letting him off the hook, but I ain't letting him off the hook. Right. No, yeah, of course. That's what it's going to come down to anyway. Right.
Right.
That's and that's what we've always faced. Right. But I just like your thoughts about, I mean, if you've been doing research, I mean, my daughter's thing is, she's a professor at Cal, a PhD in women's studies is her thing, and all of that impacts the research that she's been doing, right? And so, yeah, Doc, what you got to say about that? You know.
So, yeah, I think there's a lot to potentially be said. I'll try not to ramble, but I think it's an unprecedented time with regards to science, with regards to health, with regards to health disparities. Um, we all have been watching the news. We all understand what is going on with regards to cuts at places like the NIH, for example. And as you think about research, and many individuals have come out and said this as well, if you think about research, research is kind of like it's an ongoing process, right? It can start, it can stop, but you're constantly moving towards a goal. The issue is that when research is artificially stopped, when you pump the brakes on research, quote unquote, artificially, and you stop scientists from doing the work that essentially they've been doing, stop them from doing the work to maintain the discoveries that they have made already, you can start to significantly affect the ability to perform future research. So, for example, if you have certain cell lines, I'll use a cancer example. If you have certain cell lines that you're using to evaluate a therapeutic for cancer, and all of a sudden, all of your funding, all of your research funding is cut, and your lab basically is shuttered for a couple of months, who is going to take care of all of those cell lines where you are using basically them to investigate your therapeutic for cancer? They're going to potentially die. And so you going back, say once you ultimately get, research funding again and reverse engineering to where you were before, and again, people have mentioned this, sometimes it's not going to necessarily be possible. And so many of us researchers, we are looking at what's going on, and it is concerning. It's hard to ignore the fact that the funding pipeline, particularly with regards to federal funding, has been significantly threatened, been significantly altered, and there's uncertainty with regards to how it will look in the future as well. And so I think one of the things that we have to do, and one of the things that we do have to think about is, I love the comment that was just made in terms of the idea of there's no cavalry necessarily coming. It is upon us at this point to take the things that are actionable, the things that we can do, and start to put them in place. Other things that we can do, write to your members in Congress, pen letters, do anything you can essentially within kind of your civil liberty, so to speak, to let individuals in leadership know this is not okay. I am not okay with what is going on currently, how science is being threatened, research is being threatened. It's going to take really the collective effort of us all to combat some of these things, to actually try to change the trajectory of them.
So
I,
I,
go right ahead, Lord. Yes.
I couldn't agree with Dr. Wyndham more. Each time congressperson comes to the district, I am there advocating for research and the research-based institutions and what's happening. Because I am a community advocate, I also feel that we in the community can still do a lot. And through the Alzheimer's Association and other community-based organizations, I just attended a wonderful conference in Atlanta, Georgia, the Alter Conference, where they are mobilizing congregations and training advocates within these congregations to educate families to act as advocates. And so I think that we can't stop. We just have to continue to do the work and get the word out in as many ways as possible.
Well said. Oh, y'all make me feel good because I don't like him. So anytime y'all make me feel good in this 2.0, just well, okay. Let me. I think you know what I'm saying. Um, any other points you want to get out in the time we have together? Uh, it's just been so rich. I mean, we'll do it again.
Can I just also say, as a caregiver, I know that probably Cheryl and Dr. Wyndham can relate. I think that we as families need to get our house in order. I think that we need to make sure that our wills and our trust and all that associated financially with this disease a family member, that we have everything, we have time. So we need to make sure, particularly in our communities of color, when we don't want to talk about it oftentimes, but we need to do that.
That makes me think of just power of attorney is a big deal, right?
Yeah.
Because before,
Mhm.
somebody,
Advanced directive, the all of it needs to be discussed.
yeah, wow, thank you for that. Thank you. Go ahead.
So Charles and Gloria and Cheryl have been very humble. Let me say one thing. So Gloria is part of the African American Alzheimer's group in the Bay Area. I think you've been with them 15 years now, Gloria, if I have that correct, right?
Yeah, close to it.
And Charles Johnson is part of that, and Charles Wyndon also. They do a lot in the community, a ton, right? And thank you for being here tonight. The second is the resources. And Joe, I'm gonna put you on the spot because you're an organization that supports Alive and Free. Chris was with us last year. We all met up in San Francisco and did the Walk to End Alzheimer's last year. We'll be doing that again.
Mhm.
Hopefully, most of the people Alive and Free will be there with us this year. That'd be great. And the money goes to research. All right. And also, we'll be in DC this June advocating for Alzheimer's in general, all types of people. And we were just there in Sacramento in the month of March. So I'm just trying to convey that there are a lot of resources. And Cheryl, if you wouldn't mind, take the initiative of writing the resources, maybe in the chat box or whatever, if you can. Or, and we can give it to you later. You can distribute it. Not to put you on the spot, Cheryl.
No, I'm more than happy
Yeah,
to
but
share.
I do think that there are a lot of resources. For the guy who was on the call, that's not uncommon. Of the guy on the call trying to say, how do I
No.
get through the day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think you've already given the numbers several times, and I think it's really important also to know that when calling into that line, they actually have the ability. They have over 200 languages.
Oh, wow.
200 languages to be able to talk to individuals that are actually calling in to that toll-free number. They give support. In the case of him with crisis assistance, which he was obviously in a crisis at this particular time, and also to give him the resources to within his area that would be able to help him to work through, and support groups. Support groups are extremely important for our caregivers. And in our the African American community, when you consider that we are twice as likely to develop Alzheimer's, even less likely to get a diagnosis, or, well, even if you do get a diagnosis, sometimes that just doesn't happen, which was the case with my mother. If I had known about the Alzheimer's Association, things would have gone a lot more differently than they actually did for me. And I think it's important that with us having the resources online, that you can have training classes. There are all kinds of classes that we have that would help you to maneuver through the journey, things to look for, things to do, which is really important, what Gloria had brought up. And it's really important to get your affairs in order, even if you don't have a disease, because you can get hit by a car or a bus. I mean, and be put into a position where you're incapacitated. So I believe, and that again, within our community, those are things that are not discussed. Those are things that are not talked about. But on the walk, we have about 600 walks throughout the nation. And here in Northern California and in Nevada, we've got 18 walks. They start in September, they go to October. All of the funds that we gain are going to research. And it happens to be the Alzheimer's Walk is the largest fundraiser for awareness and education for Alzheimer's. So we're doing our part. And one of the other things that that struck me too, when we were talking about the federal funding, we have 10 10 centers that do research, and they are primarily at schools. Well, they may get cut for because we don't know exactly what 2.0, I like that, is going to actually do.
Normally
But
I
we
say
do
Orange Man, but I didn't this time. I just said 2.0.
know, right? With the comb over. But the other thing is there were funds that were actually given to, like we were talking, NIH and IHS, and but then you go in and fire the people that work there. So you've got the money, but you have no one to execute. There's no one to actually take up that to continue the research. So we are at a point now where decisions really have to be made on how we're going to be moving forward. But we know that we cannot stop. And the cavalry may not be coming, but we're an army and we're strong.
um,
And you want me to put the toll free number in the chat?
put it all in there. Put everything in there, and
Oh,
we'll get it out. We'll get it out.
okay.
Um,
And including the facts and figures.
well, we can't
Oh, yeah, that's extremely
get all
important.
that in there.
Yeah,
Yeah, we,
Hmm.
no, no, we can't get all it in there.
It's a
But
link. It's a link.
we
we
can't get it in there.
can be a
Yeah,
hub.
our website is really good. So they should try the website too.
Absolutely. And folks are calling us all the time, and to be able to have this information at our fingertips is great. Um,
Yes.
so this has been amazing. Mark and I have been talking about this for a while. Got a text. I mean, got a bunch of texts, but one of them said, "Great show tonight. I was listening. Uh, that's the best you want to hear." uh, Folks learned a lot. It's not something that's commonly talked about on a community radio show like ours. Uh, and Ann knows that this will be on go on our website and it'll be podcast. And anybody didn't hear it tonight, go back and hear it. And would you tell Mr. Lupe the reach of the show and just so he'll know that if he wanted his voice to be heard other than in the Bay Area, it will. Would you tell him who will eventually listens to our podcast?
Uh, so the Live and Free Street Soldiers Radio podcast is definitely listened to around the world. And when we look at our stats, it's really just mind blowing. You're like, people in India listen to this. South Africa, we've had Russia. And it's not just one, it's like the numbers keep going up.
Right.
So, what's important is one, we're having this conversation, right? Because you never know who and when is going to be impacted. And just looking at these numbers on the Alzheimer's Association website, it says for the first time, over 7 million Americans are living with Alzheimer's. So I really, really hope that they are able to come across this podcast and just maybe not feel alone. Hopefully they've learned something and also have some tools um, to kind of help deal with this because it's definitely something that that I know that's not talked about because it can be sad, right? It's painful when you're dealing with the people that you love who are dealing with this disease and all the variations to it. And it's like how do you talk about it? But you talk about it right here on Street Soldiers. So, Mr. Lupe, thank you.
Thank you. And you know that we do these shows, our
Yeah.
shows. We do our trainings.
Yeah.
Our you know my presentations. We do it for
Yeah.
everybody.
Yes.
But there's
Yes.
always one person that ends up being, wow, I needed this that night,
Yeah.
right? That night.
I know.
And that was like incredible. I mean, he just walked out of the house and got in the car,
Yeah.
and
Dealing with
there
it.
we were. Now that's not
Right.
that's as Lady E would say, and she will. That's ordained. That's spiritual. That's us being here at the right place at the right time, and then other people
Yes.
Divine intervention.
by rallying
Yes.
is powerful. So we always wrap these things up with by the way, I call her Amazing Grace, so you'll know why after we hear she sums up everything that we do. And so Lady E, it's on you.
First of all, I'd like to thank each of you for being here tonight. Your wisdom, your experience, your willingness to share, and that's making a difference with everybody who's listening. So thank you for that. And then I need to say, despite what you went through as a caregiver, please know that somebody beyond you knew that you were the best hands for them to be in. You were chosen because they knew you could do it. You had the heart and everything that it would take to give them what they needed. So please know that. There are many things we take for granted, going from day to day, just the way we planned it, hanging out, eating, or drinking, whatever we choose, without ever thinking that one day we might lose the ability to remember, to think, to be that independent person we expected we'd be, taken by a silent something that's now loud and unclear, caused by a disease that changes one so dear. The pain of living in a present unknown, the sadness in service given by many loved ones, while progress is being made to turn this dementia umbrella upside down, how we live and the things we do can possibly slow it all down. So, Street Soldiers wants everyone who's listening to clearly see. Put things in order, put things in place, do all you can to stay healthy, fully functional, alive, and free. This is Lady Estelle asking you to consider all of this.
Amen.
Nobody can talk after Shifa. You just have to just let
You
it all.
always do, Dr. Marshall, but you find a way. We find a way.
Good. It's so powerful. And folks, you gotta know, she wrote that right now. That's listening to us. It's amazing. And he leaves us just beautifully.
Thank you for what you've done. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for what you did tonight. For everybody who is listening to you. I wasn't trying to make that rhyme. That just happened. That just happened.
She hangs around those kids, so the rhyme is almost,
You know,
it happens.
hey, what? No. That's a God thing, okay? You just need to know.
Gloria, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bro, thank you so much. Dr. Wyndon, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me on.
Chris, thank you so much. And Mark,
My pleasure.
this was great. We'll do it again. We'll do it again. And wow. Thank you for everything you do. Thank you for being you. All right. Okay. We will see you down the road and stay alive and free. Okay. Good night. All righty. Thank you.
Good night, everybody.